How to start an inbound lead sales call for maximum results. I'm Edwin with Making an Impact, owner of Foxhound Advertising, and this video is going to be all about how to start an inbound lead sales call. Now, if you're still, having like weak openings, if you don't know what to say, if you get nervous at the beginning of sales call, especially if they're coming inbound for you, or if you're kind of like, yeah, like inbound is different than cold calling. I'm used to cold calling and taking control, but it's a little weird. Like I feel like I get off balance if they're coming in inbound to me. Or maybe like you've got your first inbound call booked and you're just kind of nervous, like, okay, what am I going to do? How do I start this call off? And if you want to avoid like weak openings, like, so how are you doing? Or, hey, good to check in. Starting off on the wrong foot, saying something wrong that just like really sours the prospect's, opinion of you. If you want to avoid that sort of thing, if you just don't want to kick off the call in a way that's like weak and makes it clear that you're not in control, and the prospect is the one calling all the shots here, at the end of the day, you probably know that a weak sales call or a weak start off to your sales call can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, as long as that persists. So we're going to dive all into several actual things you can do starting today, literally action-oriented tactics you can do today to start your sales calls off when they're coming inbound on the right foot. Plus, in a moment, I'm going to also show you how you can generate more inbound sales calls using a free evergreen traffic method. I'll dive deep into that here in a second. But first, what we want to talk about is the beginning of the sales call, because this comes from Chris Voss, and he used to be the head FBI hostage negotiator, and he wrote a really cool book called Never Split the Difference. And what he points out is you have 7 seconds to make a good first impression. 7 seconds. Now we'll talk about towards the end of this, specifically how to really impress people and really give them the best possible impression of you. But keep this in mind, that the beginning of the sales call is extremely important, because their impression of you is going to start from that point on. Really bad opening here is to say, how are you doing? Okay, so you hop on the call and saying like, how are you doing? Really, really weak. Everybody says that, and everybody gives you the same answer, right? They say, I'm fine, I'm doing good. How are you? Okay, so we want to avoid that. The other thing is we want to check in and make sure that we're getting permission, make sure that we're still taking charge of the situation, but we've got their permission to walk them through the steps of our sales process. And what I recommend, instead of saying how are you doing right off the bat, first thing I always say to folks is, hey, John, great to hop on here. Saw we had a chat at 8:45. Is this a bad time? By starting off with this question, you immediately help them feel like they're in control, but in reality, you're holding on to the control. Now, what do I mean by that? Chris Voss, again, a lot of this is going to come from Chris Voss's stuff, because I just consumed his stuff. I was struggling with sales like several years ago. His book had just come out, and I was just eating it up, because like it helped me so much as more of like a shy, introverted type of person. It helped so much, and like I was just like, I just need to like know how to keep control of the situation and everything like that. And I was like, and I don't want a script, like, because like obviously a script doesn't work, but if you got these little tactical things that you can do, that these tools in your tool belt, and if you know when to use them, you can keep the conversation going where you want it. And so, is this a bad time? This is one of my favorite tools. It's what's called a no question, or a no oriented question. And a no oriented question, the answer to it is no. Okay. So if they scheduled a call, if they've come inbound through your inbound marketing funnel and they scheduled a call on your calendar, they clearly, and if they showed up, then they know this is a good time. But this is a courtesy. You're checking in, and right off the bat, you're like helping them see like, yo, we're not wasting each other's time here, And so just by, and I wouldn't say like, ask, is this a good time? Because they have to say yes to that. Yes, everybody's sick of saying yes. Saying no is actually safety. You're kind of saying like no to things. We're sick of being having salespeople trying to get us to say yes to things. So if you just start off with this, their immediate answer is going to be no. 99% of the time, their answer is going to be no. 1% of the time, they're going to say, actually, yeah, this is a bad time. I'm so sorry. Do you mind if we reschedule it? Like they'll probably throw out, the reschedule thing. But otherwise, they always say no, and that immediately makes them feel like they've got some control here. They've got some semblance of being in charge, when in reality you're in charge of the situation. If they were to say this is a bad time, then you just say, okay, let's rebook and let's get back on the calendar here. So start with, is this a bad time? Now, almost always everybody tells you to go and build rapport, right? Which you want to do at the beginning of your sales process, but don't build rapport doing it the same way everybody else does it, right? Everybody else tries building rapport by saying, how are you doing? Or by saying, where are you from? Where are you located? And, oh yeah, I've been there before. I've been to Florida before. Oh, you guys are getting some rainy stuff. All right, do you mind if we start talking about, our product? Like, it's just such an awful transition. And like, everybody knows, like, you don't care where I'm from. You don't care two hoots about where I'm at. You don't care two hoots about me. Like, this is not, like, I know that this is step one and you're, flip the script sales process or whatever. And I'm not saying flip the script is bad, like, but it's just like, I know this is part of your sales script and everything like that. And the human connection is just not there. Even though people say you're building rapport, you're not. What I use, and eventually this will probably have to change because us sales and marketers, we ruin everything. But what I use right now is, hey, what's been the highlight of your day so far? Or what's been the highlight of your week so far? All right. So sales conversation starts off with ring, 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 or on Zoom, boop. Hey, Jim, good to see you. We had a chat here at 8:47 a.m. Is this a bad time for you? No, it's a bad time. Okay, awesome, man. Glad we could hop on. So before we dive into things, you don't mind just sharing with me, like, what's been the highlight of your day so far? Or what's been the highlight of your week so far? Now, what's really cool is this is a pattern interrupt, okay? Because everybody's so used to being asked, like, how are you doing? And given the standard answer back, like our brain just shuts off and like, I'm fine, I'm good. How are you? This is a pattern interrupt in that it forces them to actually start thinking actively. It gets them to sit up and engage with you. This isn't a, where are you from? Yeah, I'm from Sarasota. Like, it's not an automatic answer. It's like, well, the highlight of my day so far, or the highlight of my week. And again, it endears people to you. So often I ask this question, not only does it get people to think, but they chuckle or they laugh and they're like, huh, I like that. I haven't been asked that. Like, and immediately, again, going back to this, you got 7 seconds to make a good impression. You're building know, like, and trust. On top of that, almost always what you find is like whatever the highlight is, like, that's going to give you that insight into what's really important to this person. So if they tell you, like, well, we actually just got back from this trip with our family, or I just went to this music festival, or whatever it is that they bring out as the highlight, like, immediately you're getting to know what motivates the person, what drives the person, what it is that inspires them, and things like that. And ultimately, like, you're going to end up using that in your sales process, right? Like, that's what you're going to tie a lot of things to in your sales process. And this is real, true rapport building. This is really how you get that going. Now, a couple of bonus questions you can ask here too, in case it's like a longer sales process, in case like your inbound marketing funnel, maybe you work for a SaaS company, a B2B SaaS company, or B2B, that sort of thing. So you're going to have multiple meetings with this individual, right? And you don't want to just kind of like every single time, like cookie cutter. So what's this is our third call together. What's been the highlight of your day? There's a few others that you can throw in and change. And I got this from a talk a girl gave. And I can't remember her name. I wish I could, give her due credit. I just can't remember her name off the top of my head. But another question you could ask is like, what future plans do you have for the weekend or for the holiday, for the upcoming holiday? So it's just like, hey, Bob, yeah, is this a bad time? Okay, awesome, great. Yeah, it's great chatting with you last time. So before we jump into things, like, what plans do you have coming up for the weekend? Or if a holiday is coming up, what plans do you have coming up for the upcoming holiday? So again, you'll get a more interesting answer. They'll tell you kind of like what's important to them, and you can kind of talk a bit about that for something. Now, if you've had a couple calls with them at this point and you want to go a little deeper with your first question, this individual, I can't remember her name. She gave a talk and it was really great. She kind of like telescoped the question. So it was like, yeah, start with something topical. What's been the highlight of your day? But then you can go deeper, and you could ask a question like, what's something interesting you've been learning lately? And I really like doing this like with my clients too. Like if as we start having more and more meetings, it's like I start the first few calls off with questions like these, but then as our client relationships grow and we've had more meetings, then I start asking them questions like, so what's something you've been learning about lately? And same thing, they're going to tell you like what they're reading, what they're watching, what they're consuming, what's important to them. And eventually you can get into like the level 3 questions, which are even deeper, and like be kind of totally upfront with them, like, look, I'm going to ask you a little bit more personal question because I'm really interested in getting to know you. Ideally you've had maybe 3, 4, 5 meetings by this point. And maybe they're a client by now, but maybe this is still just a sales process. And one question I really like, this really gets people to light up, is asking them, what is the proudest moment of your life? And that question, like, people are like, wow, definitely, my kids, or what, like, they immediately throw. And again, you're getting to the root of like what motivates this person, what's most important to them, what's their top priorities. So that's a really great, question flow. Obviously, don't use this all in one day or all on one call or anything like that. Just start with these ones. Then if you have more calls later, you can go into the like, what are you learning right now, or what's your proudest moment. And as a caveat, in case I didn't mention this already in this video, definitely make sure you watch this all the way through with a notebook. Take a notebook, grab a notebook right now, pause the video if you have to, grab a notebook and a pen, and write these things down. Take notes, keep these categorized, because at the end of the video, I'm going to ask you to circle one thing in your notebook and circle that one thing and go do it as an action step. So make sure you're getting all of this stuff down. The is this a bad time, and the 3 questions here. And that way you've got that as a record, because if you watch this video all the way through and you learn this stuff but you don't go implement it, then it's time wasted, right? Now, once you've gotten folks through this, you've built the rapport and you've built actual meaningful rapport. My go-to question, this comes from Chris Voss again, my go-to question once it's time to start the sales process is what is called the calibrated why question. He might not call it the calibrated why question, but I call it the calibrated why question. All right. Now, the why question, normally what Chris Voss points out is you want to avoid using why as a question as much as possible, because why puts people on the defensive. Why makes people feel attacked. So what I mean by this is, if you ask, like, if someone's, I don't know, if someone's drinking Starbucks and you ask them like, so why do you like Starbucks? Like, people are kind of immediately like, why wouldn't I like Starbucks? Like it's good coffee. It puts them on the defensive. And part of this comes from, as children, parents telling us, why'd you do that? Why'd you go over there? Why'd you say that? And we're always getting in trouble for, and being like asked why, and we're having to like defend. And even worse, if you're like, an angsty teenager like I was, and like, why are you listening to that music? And why are you wearing those crazy clothes? And it's like, well, I don't know. I'm just a crazy, weird teenager and trying to sort through my feelings. I don't know. And it makes you upset and rebellious. And the same thing happens on the sales process. So avoid using the question why throughout your sales process, except for 2 instances, basically 1 instance. The instance is when you want them to defend you, when you want them to defend your product or your service, when you want them to defend your offer. All right. So what I mean by that is, don't get them defending themselves. Don't ask them like, why I'm trying to think, even like, why are you struggling with this right now? Or why haven't you implemented this kind of marketing strategy yet? And immediately they're gonna be like, well, you're gonna create tension. Not cool. But if you use it at the very beginning of your sales process, okay, you've built some rapport, and now all you say is, there's a lot of other people who are doing what we do. There's a lot, like for us, there's a lot of marketing agencies out there running paid ads and Facebook ads and stuff. Why were you interested in Foxhound advertising? Or why were you interested in our digital handshake service? And by asking it that way, you're going to get immediate feedback. Okay. They're either going to defend you. They're either going to say like, well, because I saw your video and it was really interesting. I saw the case studies. I was really, inspired by that. And I'm really wanting to see, take the next. They're either going to defend you, or they're going to start saying, well, I don't know. You tell me why I should be interested in you. Okay. So if they start getting like attacking you, that person is a red light. They are not interested in what you got to offer. Okay. Don't waste time with them. If they're wishy-washy and they can't tell you why they were interested in you, if they can't tell you why they're on the call, they are a red light. They're a yellow light. Don't waste your time with them. End the call there. Okay. These people, they're not going to buy anything. There's no deal on the table. If they start defending though, like why they were interested in you and say like how good your stuff was, your marketing stuff, or what they've seen of the product so far, then you're golden. And straight from there, you can start jumping into your normal sales process, setting the agenda, asking the pain points, tying those to the benefits of your service and product, making your pitch, and doing the close, all your normal sales process stuff. But if you get these three things right off the bat in those first few seconds, you're going to be right off to the races. And again, you can do it real quickly, like, hey John, glad you hopped on here. Is this a bad time? No. Okay, cool, man. Well, before we get started, I just want to hear, like, what's been the highlight of your day so far? Oh, okay, that's really cool. Wow, it sounds like you're really, inspired by X, Y, and Z. That's awesome. So you mind if we just jump into things? Okay, so before we get real deep into this, obviously I'm going to be asking a bunch of questions, like a 2-year-old asking why the sky is blue. Before we do, there's a lot of other companies that are doing similar things to what we do. Why were you interested in what we've got to offer? Let them defend. And now you can immediately qualify, is this person worth spending the 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever sales consultation with, or not? And, keep that real simple like that. Do it. Like I said, in the comments below, let me know which one, you're going to go and implement starting today. And as I mentioned, there is a way to actually go and get more of these sales calls. If you're needing to practice this more, you just want more sales calls on your calendar, we found a way using free Google ad traffic. You don't have to spend money on the cost per click. You don't have to do SEO or anything like that. It's part of my course. I'll put the link down in the links below. And actually, whoops, my offer already expired there. But basically, it's a course on how to build a client acquisition funnel and the feast and famine pipeline. It's a 10-part course. You'll get all of the stuff emailed to you once a day, and included in that course is going to be how to get the free Google ads traffic, so you can just start filling up your calendar with high intent buyers, and everything like that. As always, hit the bell, subscribe. My next video is going to be on the laziest inbound marketing sales funnel automation for beginners. So basically how to automate your sales funnel using software and things like that. And as always, keep up the great work and stay awesome.